Hello everyone, and welcome once again to Hitting the Mark. This is Mike Conley, and I hope that today we can further our knowledge about Mohammed, Islam, and especially in light of the current events that we're going through in Europe. I hope that this is enlightening. I hope it causes you to begin to do your own due diligence to understand the Islam, Muslim, Arab, Jihad connection, because there is one. Now, last week, or the last time I did the previous video, I left with Mohammed and his visitation by Gabriel at a cave on Mount Hira. Before we go any further with what happened after that, I would like to share with you a picture of the belief system of Saudi Arabia at that time. Let's begin with some different groups of people who believed in different ways. First, were atheists. The second group were called Sabines, and these people worship the stars. Then we have a group, the Jews, but we have to go back to AD 70 and recall the destruction of the Second Temple and the diaspora that happened after that. Well, that time and all of the tremendous dispersion and the wreckage of the temple, those Jews, some of them ended up in Medina and Mecca and a place called Hijaz, Arabia. Then you have the Arabs, a group of Arabs who were believers in Judaism. They were influenced tremendously by the Jews. And I'm not making this up. These are actual facts. This is where they lived. Yahir, Kaber, Fadak, and al-Qura. Then you have a group of Arabs who were influenced by Christianity. They believed in one God. They were from the tribe of Ghassan, and they also lived in Hijaz. You have another group of Arabs, long before Islam, followed the prophet Abraham. No idols, one God. Now, Muhammad's family came from the tribe of the Banu Hashim. They did not worship idols. And finally, we have a group of people called Zindiq. They believed in dualism, the gods of good and evil. And to put all of this in its proper perspective, something that we need to be reminded of. Jews and Arabs for centuries lived in peace together. Astounding. They don't tell us that. You have to hunt to find that. But that is the truth. The Jews and the Arabs for centuries lived in peace. Okay, for a moment, are you aware that the present direction of our world is actually being controlled by people who have been long dead? Kind of different thought, isn't it? But let's think about it a minute. Marx, Lenin, Stalin, Freud, and Hitler, people like Aleister Crowley, Saul Alinsky, Manly Hall, and the list goes on forever, and in that list, of course, is Mohammed. This world is filled with violence every day. Personal assaults, cataclysmic events such as earthquakes, typhoons, tsunamis, and children killing their parents. Stabbings in schools. In years past, we had 2 killings at Fort Hood. And genocide publicly being pushed by Islam. Now, we have something that we need to bring up. The direction of President Obama, whose other name is Barry Soetoro, he had a mentor. And in his early days, he spoke of this guy all the time. His name was Saul Alinsky. And you need to do your homework and find out about that gentleman. But nonetheless, Alinsky advocated that you should go into low-income, underprivileged communities with your message, and through social, economic, and political means, that you would try to bring about or try to promise that there could be some kind of equality in these underprivileged neighborhoods. Well, this was the very idea that Mohammed used when he started to preach the message of monotheism. The very idea. We need to take a really good look at this man Mohammed and his message. We have 1,400 years of facts, wars, all kinds of things documented about what has really happened. Now, I'm going to read you this because this is the fact, and I want you to be able to find it. Muhammad was born in Mecca at a time when things were entirely pagan. In a shrine called the Kaaba, there were housed idols representing over 300 gods that the pagan Arab tribes worshipped. Muhammad's father, Abdullah, died 7 months after his marriage to a lady named Amina from the city of Yathrib. Now, according to Sheikh Mohammed El-Kidri Buck, who is a professor of Islamic history at the Egyptian University in Cairo, in his book called Nur el-Yaqin fi Sirat Sayyid al-Mursalim, written in 1953, Muhammad was born posthumously in the house of his uncle Abu Talib in the quarter of Banu Hashim in Mecca on the 12th of Rabi al-Awwal, or the year of the elephant, a date corresponding to June 8th, 570. His mother, Amina, dies when he's about 8. Now he's taken in by his uncle Abu Talib, who was a merchant trader. So we now see that there are many Arab authors who have tracked this young man, but we don't hear from them. Now, here is something that you need to understand. This term, Allah, or Allah, what does that mean? It means the God of the sword, the warrior, and the moon god. So this is another more, hopefully, in-depth look so that we can understand who this Muhammad really was. Because I'm convinced that all Muslims do not understand, nor do they agree upon who he was. Now, the message is beginning to be preached, and he goes to Mecca where he was born, and he begins this. But herein lies the problem. The Arabs wanted nothing to do with worshiping anything other than their centuries-old idolatry. They wanted all their pagan rites, all their idols. They didn't want anything to do with this young Muhammad and his one God. No idols. They didn't like it. Now, he basically worked for the next 12 years in Mecca, and the resistance was so harsh that he only had, after 12 years, 70 converts. That's all he had. And now he's becoming very, very frustrated. And the Arabs tell him, you know, if you truly are indeed a prophet, you need to go talk to the Jews that live here, because we don't have prophets. And we don't know anything about prophets because we worship idols. So talk to them. And if they believe that you indeed truly are a prophet, then we will listen. Well, he tries this. And this is what happens. He visits the Jewish clans that are living in Mecca, and he begins his message. And he talks over and over and over again about the Exodus, but he never mentions Passover. Secondly, they asked him if he had ever performed any miracles, and he had not. And the Jews told him to forget it. You are not a prophet. Well, that spread through the Arab community, and the Arab community had now, after 12 or 15 years of this, had virtually had it with him. And he had to leave. So when we see how this developed, he now leaves Mecca and he goes to Medina. And in Medina, as you will see, he roughly falls in to the same problem. I hope that I will have you to listen to my next recording. We're going to continue on with what happened in Medina. We're now going to enter into a time of a lot of battles. A lot of battles are on the horizon, and we're beginning to understand this young man better and better. So please come back. God bless you, and I wish you the very best. Amen.